Okay, so Jalen Hurts is back on the field with some young wide receivers. Plus, he's studying a former QB Eagle great. But that's not all. Could the Eagles be looking to trade this defensive end and this running back? We also talk about a dark horse defensive rookie of the year. And clips of Hard Knocks were leaked on Twitter disrespecting Saquon Barkley. But he ain't the only one who feels some type of way. Right before I was about to upload, A.J. Brown came out and said this for his teammate. The Saquon video fired me up, and it wasn't even about me. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you get yours, fam, at Saquon. Man, oh man, he got me fired up now. What is going on, everybody? I go by Philly Mike, and this is the Philly Talk Podcast, and today we got a lot to get into. But first, be sure to hit that like button for your boy, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss the videos. As Eagle fans, we all know who Howard Eskins is. One of the worst Philadelphia media members when it comes to just making up fake narratives or bashing players for no reason. The Philadelphia Inquirer tweeted this last night. Howard Eskins has been barred from Citizens Bank Park for the remainder of the Philly season after an investigation found a longtime Philadelphia broadcaster made an unwanted advance towards a female Aramark employee in May. This right here is a horrible look. Are we really going to have him on WIP in the Eagles locker room the whole 2024 season after this? His takes and his fake narratives are bad enough. Now he's a creep. I think you might have to remove him from the situation. I don't know about y'all. Let me know your thoughts. Moving on to what's being said about Saquon Barkley. An episode of Hard Knocks was leaked on Twitter, and we seen the GM and some of his trustees, including the CEO of the Giants, talking about this Saquon Barkley situation. They started a conversation talking about, hey, let's offer him $7 million so we can at least say we offered him something. Then the conversation switched over to, maybe we should franchise tag him, either let him play or try to trade him. But who would trade for a guy who's on a franchise tag, who can decide to go somewhere else, blah, 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 blah. And we don't want that headache throughout the whole 2024 season. To me, it looked like the whole room was trying to think of ways to keep Saquon Barkley, but the GM wasn't willing to do it. He straight up said there are other running backs on the market we could get cheaper that are almost as good as him. They ended up with Devin Singletary. He also said that money could be invested, whether the draft or free agency, in the offensive line. Well, fast forward to now, they didn't draft or sign anybody for that offensive line, so he's just talking out his you-know-what. The part I love the most came from Giants executive Tim McDonald on what they'll be losing if they let Saquon Barkley go. We're losing a large part of our offense, our explosiveness, and our touchdowns. And after that was said, the whole room got quiet. They all were looking at the GM, including the CEO, who wanted Saquon to stay. And he just said, we need to invest elsewhere. Once again, referring to the offensive line, which they failed to do. They got some skill positions in the draft and blah, blah, blah. But the Giants are about to be a hot mess. They ended it by saying, we need to trust Daniel Jones. At the end of the day, watching them go across the highway to a division rival, Philadelphia Eagles, and him being the missing piece on the offense to put us over the top and get us back to the Super Bowl are going to kill Giants Nation and that front office. People are going to get fired, which is none of our concern. Moving on to some Eagle news, defensive end Josh Sweat named Eagles' best realistic trade asset. The article continued to say, the Eagles tried to trade pass rusher Josh Sweat earlier in the offseason. Ultimately, he agreed to a restructured deal, and Philadelphia traded Hassan Reddick instead. Philadelphia has no reason to simply dump Sweat, but if it is looking to secure another player in a trade, he could become a valuable bargaining chip. They continue to say, Sweat is still entering the final year of his contract and isn't a lock to stay with Philly beyond 2024. He would definitely interest teams in pass rushing help after 3 straight seasons with at least 6.5 sacks. Again, just to reiterate, they're saying that he's our best trade asset, not that we are or should trade him. However, when they talked about the depth at pass rusher behind Josh Sweat, they mentioned Brandon Graham, Bryce Huff, Nolan Smith, even Zach Bond, who we think is going to be a linebacker, but did rush the passer successfully in New Orleans, and Fangio talked about him there as well. They also mentioned third-round pick Jalen Hunt and some of the other guys like Julia Okwara, guys who are linebackers slash pass rushers, so they still think the Eagles will be fine. However, I would not trade Josh Sweat, whether he's here past 2024 or not. We'll see how the season goes. I think you need him as a staple with the rest of the guys in a rotation to make sure we can have 55, 60 plus sacks. Speaking of key contributors off the edge, Nolan Smith has some high praise from Big Play Slay. This is what he had to say. He looks a lot different this year. One thing I can say about Nolan, ever since I met Nolan, he only knows one speed. He's one of the guys you have to watch out for. He hits teammates and everybody. He's been in practice, man. He's the guy that's going to run to the ball. He's not a 10-yard guy. He's more like, I'm trying to see ball, get ball. It's going to be a special year for him this year, man, especially after learning behind Hassan Reddick all year. I think he's going to be very special. I absolutely agree. Nolan Smith is one of my breakout candidates for the 2024 season, but that don't mean trade Josh Sweat. You can never have too many pass rushers. I understand he might or might not be here after 2024, but I still care more about 2024. If there was a deal where we get another pass rusher that would be here long term, maybe, but I'm not looking to trade Josh Sweat. You would have to come to the Eagles with an incredible offer and give us a legit pass rusher in turn to even think about it. We'll deal with the future of Josh Sweat during the season or after the season. Right now, we just trying to formulate the best D-line to get sacks. Now for the last topic on the defense before we move to the offense, which has an interesting twist. Eagles cornerback named as a potential dark horse candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year? Once I saw that, you know I had to click on it. In the article, it said that Quinyon Mitchell has the third best odds in the NFL to be named Defensive Rookie of the Year at 11-1, trailing only Minnesota Vikings linebacker Dallas Turner and Indianapolis Colts defensive lineman Laiatu Latu. I guess whoever's writing this article thinks that Quinyon Mitchell, after all is said and done via training camp, will earn some type of starting job, because that's the only way you're going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. That being said, the last paragraph in this article also named Cooper DeJean, forgot the graphic, but Quinyon Mitchell's odds were 11-1. Cooper DeJean's odd is 22-1, but he's also a dark horse candidate to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, which again would mean he would have to beat Avonte Maddox out in the slot, or something would have to happen for him to start somewhere on the defense. Interesting that they love our rookies that much that they're not even sure they're going to start. But if they do, they should be mentioned as Defensive Rookie of the Year. So you got to respect how they feel about our two young DBs. Moving on to the offense, could the Eagles end up trading running back Kenneth Gainwell? Bleacher Report analyst Derek Kay had this to say. If the Eagles don't see Gainwell having a long-term future with the franchise, they could look to cash in by trading him to a running back needy team before week 1. The 2021 fifth-round pick has shown glimpses as a part-time player, especially last season. Despite logging only 114 touches, both rushing and receiving, Gainwell tailed 547 scrimmage yards while averaging 4.3 yards per carry and catching 30 passes. For another team, he could potentially push for the starting role. Interesting. I really didn't see Kenneth Gainwell as a possible trade candidate. When you look at 114 touches via receiving and rushing, 547 yards is pretty good. 4.3 yards per carry is good. And again, he's the last remaining running back from last year. Penny, gone. Scott, gone. Swift, gone. He's the last one. Now, the Eagles did draft Will Shipley in the 4th round, which is higher than they drafted Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis. Once again, 5th round pick. Will Shipley, 4th round pick. They also added a UDFA that a lot of people love and think he's going to make the roster, and Kendall Milton. He's more of a bruiser, but when you got Saquon Barkley, you add Will Shipley, you sign a UDFA, and a couple other running backs during the offseason, the guy from the Niners and somebody else, maybe if a team was willing to offer you a decent return, you would have to think about it with all the other running backs on the roster. And again, he was only a 5th-round pick. Honestly, I would just keep him for extra insurance because, again, he's been inconsistent last year, but 4.3 yards per carry is no slouch, and you never know when we might need him in a sticky situation. I believe in Will Shipley, and I don't know who's going to actually win RB2, Will Shipley, Kenneth Gainwell, but I would like for them to battle it out before we start talking about trading Kenneth Gainwell. And a trade might not even pop up unless there's an injury for one of the other 31 teams in camp at the running back position. So we're just going to have to sit back and wait and see with Howie Roseman as the GM. If a player is showing he's expendable, Howie Roseman will look to move and gain assets, whether it's draft picks or players. So we'll see what happens in camp. Lastly, I just want to talk about Jalen Hurts once again working out with the wide receivers. You got Johnny Wilson there. Once again, you got Will Shipley front and center. This time we see Anaya Smith. It's good to see him working with Jalen, especially because he didn't get much of an OTA camp with QB1. Training camp is going to be epic. I'm telling you right here, right now, these guys are ready, working on their own because they can't wait to get to training camp for sure. But real quick, this picture right here is ice cold, black and white. Who's on the TV screen? Randall Cunningham. Jalen Hurts working out, watching Randall do his thing. Man, I honestly believe 2024 is going to be special. With all that being said, I go by Philly Mike, and this is the Philly Talk Podcast. Until next time, y'all know what time it is. Wait, we almost forgot. Muscle Gang, if you got nothing to say, drop the muscle emoji in the comment section. Leave me all your thoughts. I love hearing from you. Last but not least, hit the like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you know when these videos drop. We trying to grow notification gang. It's growing, but let's keep it growing. That bell is like a text message when I upload or go live. If you got it rang, just make sure it's still rung because sometimes YouTube plays game. Now, we out.